Hey everybody, this is Meyer, and in this video what I want to do is talk about the hotly debated topic of Mac versus PC. Now my recommendation when we talk about this is generally your choice of computer or operating system is already going to be decided for you. And by that I mean whatever system you're currently running is probably going to be fine for producing music or at least getting started. And then as you get some more experience, it may make sense to go one route or the other depending on what your needs are or what you want to do. So I'm going to be trying to be as objective as possible about talking about these since I've produced great music on both of them and I own both of them, but just kind of giving the pros and cons of each to help you make a decision if you're trying to build a computer or buy a computer from the ground up specifically for music production. So let's start with Mac. Some of the pros of a Mac is that it's generally well designed and built for music production. And that's what I mean by that is out of the box, it's a little bit easier to set up a Mac to get started producing music because it's kind of designed with that in mind. Pretty much all Macs, if you think about it, Apple kind of owns all of their Macintosh computers and they build them all, so they're all designed to be a little bit more all-in-one, and it doesn't matter what you're getting, whether it's a MacBook Air, a Mac Mini, any Mac computer that's out there will generally run music software pretty well. The other plus is there's great exclusive software available to Mac, and that includes digital audio workstations like Apple's own Logic Pro, the synth Alchemy, which Apple acquired from Camel Audio, and just generally other things like the Luna recording system, which works with the UAD interfaces and bundles, and other sorts of software that's specifically designed with the Mac interface in mind. The other thing, and this is really only true about the Intel Macs, but they can run Windows on them, which means you can get the best of both worlds, where you can get a really well-designed computer that can run Mac and you can run Logic, and then you can switch it via Boot Camp or via something like Parallels, and now run all your favorite Windows applications in the background. And it's actually a great way to run all your Windows software on a Macintosh computer, and that's what I did for the longest time. I ran FL Studio on an iMac and a MacBook running Windows, because at the time FL Studio or Fruity Loops wasn't supported on Macintosh natively until I think version 11 or 12 I think was the official version. So some of the pros of the Macs. Some of the cons, so there's less support for actual popular software on Mac. Now, of course, all the big software, like things from companies like Native Instruments, you can generally find them on Mac and PC, and most paid plugins are available on both ecosystems because when people are designing software, of course, they want their music production software to make them as much money as possible, and the best way to do that is cater to both Mac and PC users. However, when it comes to free software, I think PC has the edge. A lot of software that people make that's available for free or you can find that's open source is generally only supported on PCs and not Macintosh. And along with that as well is generally it's more expensive to get a similarly spec'd Mac than it is a PC. You kind of pay what I call the Apple tax. Now it may not be as much as people inflate it to be, but you still are paying more at the gate and need to have that cash or that capital in order to invest in a Mac. Of course, the benefit to that means that, not the benefit, but you may end up paying less down the road because the average repair bills for Mac users are less than that of PC users. But in terms of initial investment, a Mac is more expensive for a similarly spec'd type of computer. Now, moving on to PCs, some of the pros of the PCs is that there's much more software available for PCs, and much more the free software in particular. And this is generally when it comes to these VSTs or these plugins. There are these really random, obscure effects and synths that you can find that are just not available on Mac. I mean, literally, like the ratio is like hundreds or thousands to one in terms of what's available on PC. They're also more customizable, which actually ties in with that idea of being cheaper. Not only is a PC cheaper to buy just right off the bat, but let's say you realize the bottleneck in your system is your CPU or your processing unit. It's a lot cheaper to go into a tower PC and just swap out the CPU for a new one rather than buy a whole new computer, which is pretty much what you have to do if you have a Mac, unless you're running a Mac Pro or something like that. Now, some of the cons of PCs. Usually you need a sound card for processing audio, and those are the people who have been producing with PCs before who understand about things like ASIO drivers. That's pretty much a headache that only PC users have to deal with. In general, Mac users are fine with something like Core Audio. And this actually has to do with the way audio buffers are handled, the way their priority is built into the system. In Mac, it's a little bit, their operating system is a little bit, and I'm generalizing here, more designed with audio processing in mind, and it has a little bit of a higher priority in the system. And along with that too, it can be a little bit more complicated to set up for music productions, where things like VSTs are installed, how to get your digital audio workstation set up, how to deal with latency. These are things that generally PC users have to think a little bit more about than Mac users. In particular, if you're buying a PC, you need to do a little bit more research to make sure that the PC you're buying or building is actually going to be capable of running the system or running the plugins and the software that you want to run a little bit more than if you're buying a Mac, because there are a lot of people who have a great gaming laptop, but maybe in their nice gaming laptop, the sound card was the thing that they cut corners on to keep the cost low. And now you're having to deal with trying to get around that, maybe by buying an audio interface or something like that. So just something to keep in mind. But at the end of the day, the most important thing to realize is people make great music and people make trash music with both Mac and PCs. So really this decision is up to you. But of course, if you're wanting to run something like Logic or run something that's only available on PC, then that decision is pretty much made for you. Once again, I don't have a horse in the race, but if you guys want to start a big flame war about it, you can go ahead and do that in the Discord, or don't, because if you guys are being disrespectful, you'll get banned. But keep it healthy. And at the end of the day, if you're focusing on arguing which is better, you're not making music and you're not becoming a better musician. So that's all I have to say about that. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. In the next video, we'll talk about the Digital Audio Workstation and go into more detail about that. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my Discord for more Flame Wars.